What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about 31 Atlas, our 30I Atlas, our 30L Atlas. I don't know what the hell the designation is. It's something like that. And we got a video with Avi Loeb. He is from what school again?
Harvard.
Harvard. Yes. And he's talking about some of the stuff that's actually around this asteroid or meteorite, whatever it is, that's going through our solar system. And they seem to be separate entities and they're acting kind of weird. So we're going to go ahead and check out this video.
Yeah, let's check it out.
We did get one report that as 3I Atlas gets closer now to the sun, telescopes here on Earth are picking up other objects flying alongside it. Is that accurate?
Well, there are always objects. The question is whether we see unusual activity. And in fact, I tasked my research team at the Galileo project to monitor the sky for any unusual activity, because it's possible that if it's a alien probe, that in fact it would release some mini probes that will visit the planets.
Yeah.
You know, we should not assume anything. It's a blind date and we should watch the other side, you know, just in case there is a serial killer there.
You know, I don't know what to think of this. All I know is that this seems to be quite different from any other comet. We don't see a traditional tail. We don't see any of the hallmarks of comets that we've, you know, clocked over the centuries. Is there some structure, or is there some bodies going around it? I wouldn't be surprised to hear that, because it's the size of Manhattan Island, which means that with how fast it's moving, it has its own little set of gravity out there. So if pieces were to break off of it, they would be held pretty close to that central core just because of how fast they're going.
Well, generally, when that happens with an asteroid, it goes behind it, not in front of it or on the side of it. So I agree with you. It's acting a little weird. The weirdest thing is the stuff should be behind it, not on the side of it.
Right.
The other thing also I think is important is I think there's a lot of assumptions that we know a lot about space. We really don't. You know, and we just now have had the technology to actually recognize this particular entity in the sky, and recently. So who knows? This might be the third or fourth time that this thing has actually come through our solar system, and we didn't even know because we didn't have the technology to see it. So I'm not as, you know, quite hell bent on this guy is about it. But we'll see what happens with this asteroid, comet, whatever you want to call it now, or alien probe. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little far fetched for me right now. I don't see any evidence that that's the case. But guys, we got this next video, and the reason I'm laughing is because it has Stephen Greer in there. I find this guy hilarious because he's going out there saying this is a psyop. So let's go ahead and check out this video.
Of course, the internet, the hysteria, and Avi Loeb jump immediately to some of the more sensational ones, although he's backtracked on that, saying that it was saying theoretically it could be this, which is a sort of a psyop. So my understanding of the cell that Avi Loeb is part of, the UFO connected cell group that he's connected to, is a very prominent disinformation, gaslighting operation. So I'm pretty sure that anything from those quarters, I would look at very skeptically, particularly when it begins to track towards a threat from outer space. Remember,
right,
this is what Werner von Braun on his deathbed told my dear friend Carol Rosen, who was his right-hand assistant in 1974, that over a period of decades, they would roll out this alien threat to sort of unite the world around sort of a totalitarian, militaristic dystopia that would be looking at anything from space as a threat that we should fight, which would then build military and intelligence spending. And that whole scheme was concocted.
You know, I don't really trust Stephen Greer at all. My reasons are different maybe from Matt's. I watched him over the years, and he talks about how you got plugged in during Clinton's administration, and he was briefing this CIA director, and doing this and doing that. And then I see video from just a couple of years ago, and he's got high-paying groups who we don't really know what they're paying, but the intuition I got was tens of thousands of dollars to go on these adventures out to the desert with him, and they actually call in the UFOs, and they've got tons of evidence of little orbs and stuff like that out in the desert. Well, I look at things from the biblical lens, and to me, what he's doing is really occult, and very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have different reasons not to like him. I think first thing, his job before he got involved in this was a surgeon, and there's documentation he was a surgeon. There's a lot of people that believe there isn't. There is, but here's the issue I see with him: how you go from a surgeon then going into all of a sudden you're talking to people in the CIA, presidents, people in the House and Senate. How do you get that? You know how you get that? It's because you get involved in somehow into intelligence agencies. That's how you do it. Mm-hmm. He's involved in intelligence agencies as well as corporations that are doing black ops operations when it comes to other worldly devices. That's what they're going to call them. In my opinion, they're doing some kind of engineering, creating new technologies that we're seeing in the sky all the time, and people are calling them UFOs, all sorts of other stuff. And, you can call them what you want, but I think majority of it's man-made. Some of it might not be. Some of it might be actually just re-engineering of alien technology that landed at some point or another. Maybe. I don't know. But he is untrustworthy, in my opinion, because of his connections to these corporations and to these intelligence operations of the United States and these into intel community. So I tend to take everything he says with a grain of salt. Now, is there truth in a lot of things he says? Yes. That's how you actually convince people you're telling the truth, and then you put in the disinformation later. So I tend to don't trust him for that very reason.
Yeah, I don't trust him either. Not at all. Some of the things he's said are really worrisome. Like, I'm talking like his practices and his belief systems, and I definitely think he's part of a disinformation campaign, and I don't even know if he knows that he's part of this disinformation campaign. The best people you could have in this sort of thing are actual real believers. So they may have fostered a relationship. The intelligence agencies may have fostered a relationship with him over 3 decades, 4 decades, where they leak little things to him at a time, and they convince him of a story which is completely false, and then he goes out there and he pushes their narrative. That's definitely going on with him, in my opinion. And to listen to him talk about this, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you might be a little charitable to him, in my opinion. I think he's a snake in the grass. Now, when it comes to Avi Loeb, he might be telling the truth about Avi Loeb being part of another cabal of people putting disinformation out there. He might be. I don't know. But you know what? I'm willing to trust him a lot more than Greer, in my opinion. But guys, this is the end of the video. We really appreciate it. Please hit that like button, comment, and share this out to everybody.
Thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful day.